Okay. So, okay. How many participants do we have? Gil, open Wendy. Gidon Leru.
I am here.
יופי. אני לא. אוקיי? אוקיי. טוב. So, good evening, everybody. Good evening and good morning to you all. Thank you for joining us for the second Partnership online learning session. And again, we have more than 70 people registered, so thank you all, and this is truly wonderful. And this time, as you can see, we ask you to open the camera so we are able to see each other. But we'll ask you to turn off your microphone. Actually, we turn on your microphone, but you will be able, don't worry, you will be able to turn it on during our question and answer session. So for those of you who did not participate in the last time, my name is Dr. Ravit Ochayon, and I'm Director of Contact Development and Cross-Partnership Initiatives for the Partnership Unit, and I have the pleasure to facilitate this session too. Just a short reminder that the previous meeting focused on expanding cycles of people involved in partnership and raising awareness of partnership. And today's session will focus on ways to create long-term engagement, to generate, sustain, and grow passion and commitment with existing participants, ways to motivate them and preserve their commitment in partnership. And I would like to thank the three partnerships that we'll present today in the following order: Central Galil, Michigan, Rehovot, Minneapolis, and Negba partnership that include Ofakim Rehavim, Arad, Kibbutz Erez, and Greater Metro. So thank you. A few words about the structure of the session for the new participants. Each partnership will have 15 minutes that will be divided as follows: 5 minutes to present the topic and 10 minutes for question and answers. And this time, since the cameras are going to be open, then the only thing you need to do is to write your name in a chat box, and I will invite each one of you to open your mic and you will be able to ask your questions. In case we'll have technical challenge, and we hope we won't, you'll need to do like the last time to write the question in the chat box, and the Israeli professional team will collect the question and we will answer them online. But you're more than welcome to write the name, your name, and the question, if will be needed, in a chat box during the presentation, so we'll save time. As you know, following the session, all the materials and contact information will be uploaded to the Knowledge Center, and questions that are unable to answer due to the time will be collected later and also will be uploaded to the Knowledge Center. And of course, we are recording this video and it will be uploaded too. And of course, I will send you the link to the Knowledge Center after the session. But before Andrea Arbel, the Director of Partnership Unit, will formally open the session, I would like to introduce Gil Klampert. He's the Educational Task Force Coordinator in the Western Galil Partnership, but he will instruct us on a few small technical points that will enable us to have a smooth session. So Gil, bevakasha.
Thank you, Ravit, and welcome everyone. Before we start, the first thing I want to make sure is that everyone sees the image large and clear. So if you see many small screens, please hover over your screen to the top right corner and choose speaker view. This way you can make sure that you see the main screen large and don't miss anything out. So once you've done that, I wanted to look at the lower toolbar, the bottom of your screen. You can see a chat box. I can see people are already using it, saying shalom and joining us. So during the presentations, when Ravit said that you might be having questions, this is where you just write your name, and I will later on address you to ask your question. just make sure you see the shalom from John Levine. So this is on the lower toolbar. You can click on chat and also close it. So this way you can know how to open it up again. You're on mute. You cannot unmute yourself. It's only me. And every speaker there will be unmuted. We're 43 participants and counting. So it might take some time, a few seconds to get them to unmute everyone individually. So just be patient with me. And that's it. I hope to be bored and we don't have any technical issues. If you do, in the chat, you can choose two. There is a place when just above that box when you write your message, you can choose to send it to me, just to the host, and then I can help you deal with your individual difficulty. Okay. And hopefully we won't have anything like that. And then good luck to us and enjoy learning today.
Great. Thank you, Gil. Thank you very much. So we're starting. And I have the honor to invite Andrea Arbel, the director of our partnership unit. Andrea, בבקשה. רגע. Gil, just a minute, Andrea.
Okay, I see I'm unmuted. I want to start out, first of all, hello everybody, but I really want to start by saying thank you to Ravit for the second time putting together an online learning session. As Ravit, toda rabba for everything you did to prepare this session, to conceptualize the session, to prepare the speakers. As toda rabba. For me, this is one of really the more important junctures in which we are convening, as I was kind of looking at who's participating here, I see, representation from so many different communities, actually mainly across Israel and across the United States. We also have joining us some of the members of our Partnership Global Council as well. So I'm really delighted that you're on here, that you're online. And the reason that I think that these meetings are so important is because, as Gil said, it's an opportunity for us to learn and share with each other. There are so many differences amongst our partnerships, but there's so many commonalities and there's so many things that are half similar. And I think that the more that we can be inspired by one another, the more that we can learn from one another, is the stronger that our individual partnerships will be and the stronger that our collective of partnership will be. And that's where, for me, lies really the importance of these days. We had our first, we had a major conference back in March with amazing attendance. And really one of the outcomes of that was the first learning session. Now the second, as you can see, there's a conceptual continuum between the first learning session and the second. If the first we're saying, okay, we want to be able to go out and touch and engage on all different levels, new populations. Now we're saying, okay, however many we're touching, how do we keep people engaged over time with a continuum of activity with different cohorts, with different kinds of engagement? And that's what we want to hear about today and learn about today and learn from one another. So I want to wish you personally a Shana Tova and Mituka to everybody. And with that Shana Tova and Mituka, I want to invite a very special woman leader of partnership, and that is the co-chair of the Partnership Together Global Council, Lori Klinghoffer, who also would like to say hello and share some holiday greetings. Gil, if you can unmute Lori Klinghoffer.
Could I say the name again?
Lori Klinghoffer.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I hear you, Lori.
I think we're good. Okay, everybody. So welcome to our second online call, and it really is a privilege to see the level of participation, not only in numbers, but those of you who are on the call are true leaders in your communities and in the partnership world. I want to just take this opportunity to, again, thank you for all that you do for us and bringing partnerships and Jewish people to the level that we do on a daily basis, and wish you all a Shana Tova for a productive, blessed, joyful, fulfilled 5779. And in this coming year, we will continue to bring our Jewish world closer together as we enhance our partnerships and our connections among our individual partnerships, in our larger network of partnership to partnership, and just doing good in the Jewish world and making connections that work, talking about what unites us instead of being so concerned over what divides us. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. So thank you, Andrea and Lori. And we are starting with Central Galil, Michigan. And I would like to invite Noah Nofrein, the P2G Director, and Donna Stillman, Senior Associate, Israel and Overseas Department, the Jewish Federation of Metropolitan Detroit. Bavakasha, the stage is yours.
Oh, good morning. So we've been asked to talk about our engagement of teens in our partnership. And basically, our engagement of teens began sort of, unfortunately, in a response to an emergency about 18 years ago. During the Intifada, we recognized that there were teens in distress in Israel, and we have a very large Jewish summer camp in our community. And we took it upon ourselves to raise funds to bring about more than 300 teens to our summer camp that summer. And what came out of that was sort of amazing. We decided that it was really a very valuable experience, more than just getting children out of a situation that was stressful and potentially dangerous for them and so on. We found that it was really valuable going forward and to our community as well. And so we decided that we were going to do this every summer. No emergency, in disregarding any emergent need. And we decided after a bit of a while to focus more on our partnership region as an area where we would pull these teams from to sort of create community. And that's what we've been doing. Now we bring about 100 teens from our partnership region every summer to our local Jewish summer camp. Where they really begin to create very, very strong bonds and it's a very transformative experience for them and for our community here, because we really embrace them into our community at camp and then at the end of camp with home hospitality here in our community. So it's become very important, and what we found after a while was that this was sort of the launching point for a larger project of teen engagement, and Noah will talk about where that led us next.
Thanks, Donna. So, can you guys hear me?
Can, we do.
Great. So, so we had this amazing experience, but it was a one-time experience, and we are really trying in the partnership, in the strategy, to create continuum from a very early age all the way through adulthood. So we had these amazing teens coming back and their families feeling extremely excited and committed and getting this getting the bug in a very extreme way. But then they came back to Israel and we realized, okay, so what's next? If we don't do anything with them next, we lose all the potential that we created. So then we decided to create the Teen Leadership Program. That is a very special program because it's a 4 or 5 years program, all the way from the 8th grade to the 12th grade. And basically it's taking this huge potential of kids who were already very strongly engaged with the partnership and with the Detroit community and getting them involved in a more very long-term way through teen leadership, and not just them, but also their families. So this is what we've been doing, and in the past I think almost 15 years now, we have this teen leadership program that we have 180 kids participating in every year in 8 different groups. And through this teen leadership program, we are able to do many, many things that create long-term engagement in the Central Galilee region as well as in Detroit. So I will talk a little bit about the impact that it has on a long-term engagement impact on the Central Galilee region, and then Donna will be able to also elaborate on the impact that it has on the Detroit community. So beyond the fact that, obviously the kids themselves get a long-term engagement, we see that one of the main things that we are able to get through this teen leadership program is the engagement with the families. So the families are automatically being added to the community of the Central Galilee, and because of their excitement and their commitment and their gratitude, most of them are our first people to go to whenever we have missions coming in, and they are our host families, and they are the people that we get, when we do like meetings between missions. And on top of that, we have most of our new volunteers in the steering committee and in the subcommittees come from those families. They are parents of kids who went to teen leadership and they want to give back. And they join the different teams of volunteers and really have a strong impact on the partnership, all the way to afterwards even getting into the steering committee and the joint steering committee, and all the way through the fact that now our chair, one of the chairs of the partnership, is a parent of a kid who used to be in ICP and then in teen leadership, and we see it, we see the continuum all the way afterwards. I'll give it back to Donna, and then we can expand more if we have time.
Okay, so I think, we really try in our community to leverage upon, what the kids experience here in the Israeli camper program, then when they go back as teen leadership. And I would say almost every mission that we send when we go to the region, we're always asking, Noah, please send us a delegation of teens, because these kids are, not only are they just, learning, it's more than just that they are kids that have been in a teen leadership program in Israel, which is amazing. But beyond that, they're kids that have been in our community before, and they really understand and they know about us and about our, our community, our families. And so when we send missions, it's more than just people from our community meeting a group of kids who have been well trained as leaders in their community, but really they understand us. They can say they stayed at this person's house, or they had this experience in our community, or how special camp was, and everybody understands. So it really enhances those meetings, and it really creates something very special for when we have visitors to our region. Beyond just going back, as Noah said, and being part of the teen leadership program, we then give kids a couple more opportunities to come back to Detroit and be in our community again. There's a TSS, like a counselor and training program that happens after 2 years after they come back, that some of the kids get an opportunity to sort of strive to rise to the top of the teen leadership program so they can come back again to camp. And this is a very big reward for these kids and a very big motivator for them to stay in the program and to be stars in the program. And so we have that. And then also for them to join our teen mission kids. When we send teen mission to Israel, we have kids that travel with our teen missions from our region. And then what we also know and see coming out of our teen leadership program, our Shin Shanim. And, we've, from our region, sent between 5 and 8 kids out into communities all around the United States and the world in the Shin Shanim program from our region, which is, we've been told, is very unusual. And we're hoping really that we're going to get to bring some back here now, because we want to keep our kids here. So, we consider them now our kids. And so we're hoping to have our own Shin Shanim program so we can have, again, another opportunity to have the continuum of kids coming back to our community. And then we do see alumni also as counselors at camp and, coming back in other ways. So I think that that's sort of the impact we've seen in Detroit.
Yeah. And the same alumni, after they come back from Michigan again, from Detroit again at camp, a lot of them are afterwards go back and close the circle, and they serve as counselors in the teen leadership program. So we have 8 counselors every year. Usually about 5 to 6 of them are alumni of the teen leadership program. So it all circles back. And now we just started to have the graduates from the first year or 2 of ICP and then afterwards teen leadership, who are actually in the steering committee and are taking on leadership positions in the partnership. and they were themselves campers and then team leadership participants. And it's just beginning now because of, it's been 18 years, so they were able to grow up and finish the army and come back after, school, etc. So it's very exciting. I think that that's about it. And I think that, the most important thing for us is, as I said previously, is to create that continuum all the way from the, the 7th grade to adulthood, and to really create many, many opportunities for the same people to go back and to do more things in the partnership and create that engagement. Obviously, we also want new people and expanding the circle. So that's one of the questions that we always ask ourselves. The balance between getting new people and getting people who are already involved the opportunity to get more and more involved, so we can strengthen the engagement. But I think that we're able to do a pretty good job at doing this balance. That's it, I think. Donna, anything to add?
No, I think sounds good. If anyone has questions.
Yeah, we would love to get questions.
Okay. If you do have questions, you can write your name on the chat box and I will be able to unmute you, so you will be able to ask the question online. But if you don't, you can also write the questions in the chat box and we will upload them later on to the Knowledge Center together with all the materials in case you will remember or raise question afterwards. So I will just frame it for 1 second, and in case you do have questions, you can write your name. I see the chat box, you can write your name here. But we've just heard an example program that is proven successful for a model for creating sequence of experiences for participants and their families over a long period of time. And they created actually a post-delegation activities, ongoing motivations and ongoing engagements. And this is a wonderful model. And of course, if you have more questions, you will be able to write, email, and read more when we will upload everything to the Knowledge Center. So if we don't have questions, that we'll move forward to the next partnership. And I have the pleasure and the honor to invite the Rehovot Minneapolis team. And we have Gidon Reno, is the P2G director, Eilat Harel, director of Community Impact, Engagement, and Israel Center, and Sally Abrams, the P2G steering committee member. Bevakasha, the stage is yours.
Shalom, everyone, and it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to share with you our initiative. Our story begins at a very different starting point. If we just heard about something which has been around for 18 years, ours is only 5 months old. Those of you who were at the P2G International Conference 5 months ago in New Jersey, back in March, remember the invitation to do more with what we are already doing, to leverage our current resources to do more. And one of the roundtable sessions we had there was about educating Israelis about the realities of overseas Jewry. So I'm going to share my screen now. We have a few slides to help us through here.
למטה הירוק, גדעון.
Yes, just a moment, but I need to choose the right screen. For some reason, my slideshow. Let me do this again. I had my slideshow. I'll show all windows. Okay. Here it is. Here we are.
Do you want me to upload it, Gidon?
No, I think you can see it now.
We can see it.
Okay.
It's visible.
Our initiative is titled Cousins in Your Living Room. And this was the idea which we took from the roundtables back in March of hosting members of incoming delegations when they arrive in Israel and bringing them to living rooms in Israel, in our case in Rehovot, in order to conduct that heart-to-heart conversation that we were seeking, in order for more Israelis to be aware of what's happening nowadays in North American communities, and for us to be able to share our perspectives. And this opening slide, many of you are familiar with this image of the woman, actually an image which contains two women, a young woman and an elderly woman. This is really the inspiration for why this conversation is needed. And while many of us have seen this image somewhere, the nice thing about it is that even if you remember that there are two women you can see here, even if you've seen it before, it takes a conscious effort to see them both. And that's kind of like a reminder that our two perspectives, how we see things from Israel and how we see things from overseas, are sometimes quite different, and it needs a conscious effort in order to get into each other's mindset and to understand each other more deeply. The goals, okay. So I'm now going to connect it to the theme of this session, which is the engagement of volunteers. So while the first goal was, yes, to educate Israelis about perspectives of overseas Jewry, we also saw an opportunity here to broaden the scope of our P2G leadership's engagement. The first
just a minute, Gideon, we don't hear you very clearly. Can you raise your voice or your mic?
I'll try to speak more directly into the mic. I hope this helps. Is this a little better, Ravit?
For me, yes, but for the rest of the participants, let's see, raise your hand if you hear Gideon.
I can hear him.
Okay. So as I said, we saw this as an opportunity to try it out first with when our annual joint steering committee happened in Rehovot, and that happened back in May. And we decided to add an element, to design an element this evening in living rooms in Rehovot, where we would divide up our steering committee members from Minneapolis. 3 or 4 of them would go to each of these living rooms, and we would have that discussion. And in a moment, my colleagues, Eilat and Sally, will talk more about what happened there. But the idea was to add an element to their regular joint steering committee experience, which is usually about the business aspects of our partnership and so on. We had another goal, which was to deepen the engagement of volunteers who are new to partnership, and there were 1 or 2 members who are new to the steering committee. In addition, 2 of the hosts, this was their first opportunity. We called them forward and invited them to open their homes to this event, and they responded positively. One of them was a parent of a teen who had participated in a teen program. Another one was the head of the parents' organization at a school where we're running a school twinning program. And the last goal we had, of course, was broadening the visibility of P2G in our local community of Rehovot. So that's kind of like the backdrop and the motivation and how we got to this project and its connection to the theme of this talk, which is to deepen the scope of our volunteers' engagement. I'm passing it on now to Eilat and then to Sally, and I'll go down 1 slide.
Thanks, Gideon. So a little bit about the format and the logistics. As Gideon mentioned, our steering committee had a joint steering committee meeting in May, and we split our group into fairly even groups, all groups consisting of both local and overseas steering committee members. And the setting was done in an intimate setting, and it's important for it to be in an intimate setting because there's a comfortable space and it's easier to talk when in someone's home rather than a cafe or a restaurant noise where there's constant movement and noise for interrupting the conversation. And it also becomes much more friendly that way, and people open up quicker that way. Each group had a facilitator, and this is important because there needs to be some form of monitoring and coaxing for people to start the conversation. The group consisted of not only P2G steering committee members, but also P2G past and current participants and people from the community who were invited by hosts or the guests. It was a good way, again, like Guido mentioned, to spread the word for people in the community. The last group is when I'm saying the last group, the people in the community who came, who weren't a part of P2G beforehand, is an important factor of the discussion because most of them in our case didn't even know about P2G, didn't know of its existence, so it was a good way to introduce to more people P2G. It was the first time that they would have this kind of conversation with people. A lot of people don't even realize that this conversation exists, and they were able to bring in their own perspectives into this discussion. And it was an opportunity to educate and engage them beyond the programming circle. The icebreakers were also launching pads to the conversations that happened after the icebreakers. So what we did is we chose images and photos. One of the images is what you see in the corner, the young woman and the old woman. And all the images that we chose were not random. They all had specific reasons why they chose them. And if in the future you do want to do this kind of thing, then you don't have the library of the images that we chose. And we just spread them on the floor, and each person picked the image that most spoke to him or her, and used that image to introduce who he, she was, and why this person chose the image that they chose. And this became a subtopic through the image that they chose. And after the icebreaker session, when we split everyone into subcommittees, into subgroups for discussions, the people went to the group to continue discussing the topic that was put out there through the introductions. So for example, if someone chose the image of this woman and said that there are so many different perspectives, people who wanted to continue with that kind of discussion went to that person to continue talking about the different perspectives. After the icebreaker, the whole thing is about 90 minutes. The discussion in the subgroups was about half an hour, and then you finish it up, and it's a little bit more time for schmoozing, and people get to know each other even more, and the conversation is very different from what it was in the beginning when people are still a little bit strangers. We thought that this was a successful session for us, and we did decide to incorporate this into all of our programmings, both in Rehovot and in Minneapolis, and all the different kinds of programmings to host this kind of thing in someone's house, and to continue the momentum of inviting people from the local community to introduce them to P2G, and also a way to invite more people to this program. Sally?
Okay.
Sally?
Yeah, you can go to the next
go to the next slide.
Yes, I am attempting that. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. One of the advantages of this program, there was a number of them. First of all, that it involves so many people and costs nothing. It just leverages resources that are already there, includes people who don't know about the program, who haven't participated in the program. And the way that it deepens the engagement and involvement for the volunteers, people like me, is that people on the steering committee are planning and overseeing all this work, but we're not always participants ourselves, because maybe, school twinning, maybe we don't have children in that school, or, the artists exchange, maybe we go see the exhibit, but we're not artists. But this kind of a program where it's a conversation is something that all of us who were part of the steering committee could take part in. So it deepens the involvement not only of the people in the community that are coming for the first time, but the volunteers themselves that are very deeply invested in the success of P2G, but maybe haven't been participants themselves. So I want to give two examples of how this actually played out for two of our steering committee volunteers. One of our volunteers, named Mark, started telling a story. I wasn't in his session, but I think Eilat was. He started telling a story about he started unloading his own frustrations with Israelis. He's got a son who's married with a couple children, who lives in Israel. So Mark is in Israel a lot. He's in Israel a couple times a year to visit his family. But he said in kind of his own funny way, he says, Israelis drive me crazy. And he started explaining all the ways that Israelis drive him crazy, the sort of aggressive pushiness, and it's very different culturally from where we live here in Minnesota, that were characterized as Minnesota nice, and it's a much more reserved culture. He just started unloading all of his frustrations on Israelis. And when he was all done, like the whole group got up and said, "Can we hug you?" And they had like this big group hug going on, which he didn't expect and which was very disarming to him and very memorable. And then the whole experience was used 2 nights later when we were at this, Eilat, you'll have to help me with, I don't remember the name of the performance art that we attended, but he was part of it, retelling the story on stage.
It was a playback theater.
Playback, yes, that's it. So his story became part of that experience, which again just connected him, in a different way to the people who were in the room and to everybody in the audience. The Cousins in the Living Room that I was part of, I think was a big eye-opener for the Israelis, because the conversation moved organically into the issue of assimilation and intermarriage, which is a gigantic challenge for diaspora Jews. And one of the people who was really opened up about her own story is a member of the steering committee who's born and raised an Israeli, who has all of her family still in Israel, but she moved to the U.S. As a young woman, met her husband here, married here, is raising her family here, is involved in every possible way in the community. They've raised 4 kids. And she has no, assurance that her kids are going to marry Jews. I mean, they're not involved, or they're involved with people who aren't Jewish. And it opened up the conversation for everybody to weigh in on this very touchy topic, and for Israelis to have an understanding of how alive that topic is for us. So I think that everybody left with, we got to the heart of something really important in these conversations. And here you can see some of the feedback that people shared. So I think that's the extent of what we were going to show. We have a couple more slides, Gidon, that you want to show. Otherwise, people can throw questions towards us if there's still enough time left to answer them.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sally. We will open the microphone. Gidon, just please. Great. We will open the microphone, and we saw someone raise his hand for asking question, although we've asked to write in the chat box, but let me see. If someone has question, we will open the microphone, and please raise your hand. We can see most of you, all of you. Gil? Okay. Okay.
They're not getting it. So I think that rapport will be transferred.
Okay. Who is the first one who wants to ask questions?
That's a little harder to spell, but tell me don't make any chosen.
Okay.
Down 2, if you don't mind. And I'll just jump on those because
here you are.
Bring the fire hose. But I don't like taking a long time to know.
זהו. אילנית קליר, אילנית. Open the mic to אילנית.
I think I missed.
Yeah, and Tom Harwood and I have a good rapport, so I can certainly continue to drive conversations with him.
I would mute everyone's microphone.
Mobility service.
Read all mics are open.
Fair enough.
אני בקו השני במשחק מידע, אני אחזור לך, בסדר? ביי.
Okay, I just did something very basic. Were the meetings virtual?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing because there's a lot of feedback. Will you ask the question again?
Yeah, sorry. Were the meetings virtual?
No, we're all sitting
Definitely.
together.
And one thing interesting, I went to the Fed Civ QBRs, and the one thing that came out of it was everybody describes us, the Greater Veritas, differently. And
Wait,
it just dawned on me after that day and
just mute everybody.
hours that
everybody but one.
Okay, we've tried to we've tried to let everyone opportunities to hear and see, but it's okay. We're a community, so it's great. Ilani, I see that you wrote a question. We will take all the questions later. Okay. We missed something very basic. Where the meeting between the Israelis and the Americans virtual.
No, we were all together in a living room. That's what made it so powerful. They weren't virtual meetings. We did it as part of our joint steering committee. Sorry about that. Anyway, we were all together. That's what made it so powerful. We were sitting in one room together, face to face, not virtual.
Okay.
Next.
So, thank you. Again, the best thing will be that you will write the questions and we'll collect all the questions and we'll make sure that you will get all the answers in the Knowledge Center. But the program that we've just heard from Rehovot, Minneapolis, so thank you, first of all, Sally, Elat, and Gidon, is amazing project, and a lot of we've heard about a lot of aspects and impacts that we have, but I can say that in this example, we just learned how partnership identified a larger need or topic beyond the local communities that is relevant to all, and build a strategic plan to address it. They succeeded to activate volunteers of the steering committee by looking beyond their usual activities, adding additional layers of interest, meaning, and significance to the role as steering committee members. So although we have a lot of aspects in the program, I think this is the major topic that relates to our session today. And I would like to thank Rehovot Minneapolis and for this great program, and to move forward to a NEGBA partnership. And here I would like to invite Tal Morag, the Living Bridge coordinator, and Wendy Feldman, steering committee co-chair of the Ofakim Merchavim Metro West committee. Please, the stage is yours. B'vakasha.
Hi, this is very exciting. Thank you for the opportunity. I've been working in the partnership over 10 years, and together with me going in, the partnership went through a renewal process. It's actually the starting point of our volunteering story, because the partnership decided that you're going to focus on Living Bridge. And as a result of this long-term Living Bridge program, we start building a pool of volunteers that finished a 1-year or 2-year program, and they were eager and they were willing and they wanted to continue the dialogue and the engagement and to make a change in the community. And we found ourselves asking, what can we do with them? How can we continue working with them and use and make them feel useful and make the changes they want to do? So I want to go back to actually the line that what we actually asked them in our program, which is 3 questions. What do you want to do for your nation of Israel? What do you want to do for your community and family? And what is the first thing that you want to do tomorrow morning? And this dialogue is an ongoing dialogue that is taking place all the time, even after they finish the program. Because they are finishing after a very meaningful experience, and they want to implement, and they want to change, and they will continue to see the effect of what they did and what they experienced in their community. So we help them. We ask them, okay, what do you want to do now? You want to initiate programs? Do you want to create Living Bridge programs? Do you want to support pluralism? Do you want to become a steering committee member? What fits you? And it's it's a hard work, but every person or every volunteers today actually find, or we hope that you find our partnership, the platform for his community involvement. And I see Wendy is online, so I will give her the stage because she is one of our top volunteers and the chair of our steering committee.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So thank you, Tal. My name is Wendy. I am the chair of our P2G Ofakim Merchavim steering committee. I'm in my second year holding that role. So I have, it's been interesting here sitting and talking to everybody about what we do to keep people involved and the challenges that we do have. And I kind of, Tal and Doron had asked me to share some of my own personal experiences in terms of my involvement with, as a lay leader within P2G. And perhaps give some suggestions as to how I think we might be able to engage people earlier and better in the process. I think, one thing that we really need to do is people coming out of these Living Bridge programs that we do have. I mean, we need somebody there almost as a greeter as they exit the program, having a one-on-one conversation with them and saying, what piqued your interest during the course of the program? How is it that you'd like to continue your leadership and your participation? I do think on the American side, sometimes people are waiting to be reached out to, and if that reach out doesn't happen, then they really move on to do something else and to fill that gap with some other type of extracurricular activity. I guess fortunately for P2G, I was not one of those people. I kind of was very insistent about wanting to take a leadership role as a lay leader. So I was kind of more pushy about it than maybe some others. But I think having somebody help, just as like we would have somebody help onboard someone, I think it's important that we have, people there who are dedicated to offboarding, people that have been through a meaningful experience, be it a 1-year or 2-year program, and engage with them, immediately as that program ceases, so that that there's still momentum involved and we can continue to keep those people involved. The other thing that happened, I think, with respect to one of our more recent Living Bridge programs, which didn't necessarily happen during my program, was that we got people involved during the course of the program, and people were appointed to roles, people were reached out to, so that they were assuming positions within P2G or within our larger global connections structure to take on roles while they were still in a 1 or 2 year Living Bridge program. So those people, we got those people, we realized they were interested, we jumped onto that opportunity and got those people involved before the program even ended, so that those people, now that they are out of the program, are already engaged in our partnership activities. And that's actually worked out, for us really well. So I mean, I would say, the earlier we can engage people, the better. If we can engage them even during program, that's great. But that we should also have some kind of, formal way to offboard people and make sure that figure out where their interests are, what they want to do, how they want to be involved, and make sure that we've got opportunities to offer them.
I want to follow what Wendy said and give you a few examples of what our graduate did in the past recent years. One of our graduates an Israeli and American together have created a program that's called Cycling Together, which is a Living Bridge cycling program, which a group of Israeli went to Metro West and participates in the Bikeathon for fundraising for the summer camps. And this coming February, the host and a few others are coming here to Israel to have a bicycle tour in the Negba area. And of course, they will be hosted with the Israelis that visited them last year. And this is an idea that came out of their own hobbies, because both of them are cyclists, and their passion to do something together. And this is an example of, we say, what we tell them, we say, whatever you want to do, whatever you like, let us do it together and let us be the platform for it. Another good example is a graduate of one of our Peoplehood program, which her daughter celebrated bat mitzvah, and she didn't have any frame to work with on it. So she started a bat mitzvah for mothers and daughter program that in the end, the girl and her friend and the mother friend together did an Aliyah LaTorah, which is something that where we live here in Israel is not very familiar and not very popular. But they did it, and they were exposed to information and experience they would not have otherwise. And I think Wendy can also share from her bat mitzvah story, because she spent it here in Ofakim, what it made you feel.
So thanks, Tal. So I think my experience was a bit unique. I traveled on a mission back in 2011, and one of the things that we saw was one of the elementary schools in Ofakim, which I love children. I love working with children, and it was just it really had a very meaningful impact on me. So I as a lay leader have been very involved with this school from a lay leader perspective, but also from a personal perspective. My daughter and I have now been to Israel twice for a week each time, and we have volunteered in the school for a week, helping to teach English to the children at the school. So, I think it's I'd like to say it's great to get people involved in leadership roles in our P2G committees and our programs, but I also think it's great to have people involved kind of on their own, people that feel like there are things that they want to do personally to increase their connection to Israel and to our partnership communities. It's great to do it through our respective federations, but I also think it's great that people do this or feel the need and the desire to do this, not only through federation, but also just on their own.
So I will just conclude that the partnership today, the steering committee is almost, I think 95% is from our graduates. It consists of 95% of our graduates, and today the partnership dedicates money and funds for opening and building an alumni network, and also for the training of lay leaders and Israeli philanthropy. Because we realize that our graduates are the leaders of these communities, and we are trying to give them all the tools that they need to make the change to what they want to do. And we also are now establishing a little grant fund, which is kind of an Israeli philanthropy experiment called the Awesome Fund, or Keren Baktana, which our volunteer will sit and will donate money, and we'll sit together and decide where this money is going to, which something for the Israelis is not very familiar.
We have a question. Doron, do you see the question?
Yes, I do. In regard to the minimum gift for the American participants, there is a minimum gift to be part of the steering committee. But for our leadership programs, there's some participation fee. both Americans, and Israelis. In Israel at this point, we don't have a minimum gift to the Federation, but as Tal just mentioned, part of this follow-up to our adult programs is that we're starting to educate our lay leaders to take that responsibility. And we've done a few experiments, and we're going to continue doing experimenting. And what's interesting is that the funding doesn't go to the partnership per se, but actually to the Federation as a statement that we're part of this global community. And as Israelis, we want to give back to the community in North America and in Greater Metro West. So that's the part of what we're trying to do in this context.
Okay, thank you. I see that you would like to hear more about it. Wendy, do you want to add?
No, I mean, I just want to, I mean, I think it's a good question about the minimum gift requirements. I think they've been there. I don't think it's anything new, at least on the U.S. side. I'm not sure how rigorously they have been enforced, but I do think that as during the past couple of years, we've spoken more openly about people that are on these committees and responsible for the allocation of dollars with Israel, that they need to, that a meaningful gift from them is an important part of sitting on these committees and being able to discuss where these dollars go. So while I don't necessarily think it was enforced in the past, I do think we are hoping our committee members can get to a minimum gift at some point, and make sure people understand that that's an important part of sitting in the committee, because if you're giving money, you have a lot more invested in determining where that money is going to go.
Thank you very much, Wendy, Tal, and Dawn. We saw a great example. Our partnership intentionally recognize the need for building a long-term program that enable the empowerments and the training of existing and new volunteers, with the possibility to continue being involved in the partnership through a supportive structure, allowing freedom and support for new initiatives. This was a great example, and I would like to thank you all. And I have the pleasure and the honor to invite Agar Shoa-Marco, our Partnership Together Chief Operational Officer, to summarize this session. Agar, bevakasha.
Toda rabba, Ravit, and thank you all. It was amazing ride. I enjoyed very much. I hope you did too. And I would like just to summarize the main points that we heard today, starting from the Central Galilee Michigan Partnership, which introduced us their continuum program for young leadership, all the way from 7th grade until adulthood, and taking important parts in their volunteer lay leadership. And then we heard about the programs of Negba, Ofakim, Merchavim, Arad, Metro West, and Erez Partnership, which focus on different age group, on young adults. And we heard about their very interesting range of opportunities that they build together with their alumni, the program alumni, and to the fact that most of the leadership capacity to date are actually alumni of this program. And last but not least, Rehovot Minneapolis partnerships that touch at the heart and soul of our partnership, the steering committee, and the way that they engage their volunteers and found different ways that they were involved in the partnership. Moving forward, very important issues that Israel and the entire Jewish world are actually dealing with today. So again, I want to thank everyone. It has been a pleasure to hearing you. And thank you, Ravit, for taking the lead and facilitate this wonderful session. And Andrea, please lead us to the closing of part of this session.
I will just close by saying two things. First of all, again, I want to underscore the fact that all of the material from this session is going to be uploaded in the P2G Knowledge Center. All the materials from the previous session was also uploaded there. And I just want to say in general that there's a lot of amazing resources online in the P2G Knowledge Center. So if you haven't visited there, I really encourage you to do. You may find materials that could be helpful on the level of steering committee and way beyond. And with that, I just want to wish everybody a Shana Tova v'Metuka with lots of health and happiness and joy and lots of partnership on the agenda. אז תודה רבה לכולם, ותודה רבה שוב לרבית.
Thank you, Shana Tova, and we'll send you the link to the Knowledge Center. I see the questions here. Don't worry. Shana Tova. See you next session. Bye.
Shana Tova.